really like. So this is, so object B, type book, so 297, and also it's true. But now, the title is going to refer to some string objects. And that's the, whatever title it is. So it is not actually residing in the attribute field. It's actually a reference to some string objects. Okay? So now let's say we are trying to create a new attribute of type writer for the author. So let's say if it's by default, this writer will be some, so this author here will be a reference to some objects of type writer, just like in Java, right? So here we actually have, we might have two books that are actually written by the same author, right? So that means if somehow we can actually change the author's information by using one of the book, then that author will also be changed for the other book. So let's say, let's call this A, and let's say book 1 and book 2. Let me show you exactly what I meant. Again, this is aliasing. So let's say we have book 1, which is on the left. So after this line here, if you say b1 dot author dot name has object equal to, right? The tilde expression here. If you do this, so you say check, and this will be true, right? Because that's exactly the thing we try to change. And the same would be if we say check, so b2 dot author dot name, amend down here. Okay, so this would be true as well. Although we didn't actually use b2, we didn't call b2 the author that set first name. We actually only call b1. But because its alias is unknown. Okay, so now there is another way to actually to represent the author. Okay, so let's say, so this is modeling a situation where, let's say you got the OSC2, right? It has the author's page information. If somehow, let's make this example. Let's say Virgin Bio has written, just get 2 copies of OSC2, okay, 2 copies. So now, if you actually modify the author's page on a hard copy book from Virgin Meyer to, let's say, Jackie Wong, on one copy there, would it actually also be visible on the other copy? It wouldn't be, right? Because they are not shared. So somehow the author page is only belong to one of the books only. So in this case, let me erase this. Let's see. Let's say again we have book 1 and book 2. So book 1 refers to some object here, and book 2 also refers to some book object here. Okay, let's say this particular field is actually for the author. And this part is also for the author. So now we are not talking about reference type anymore. So this concept here is to say this author's information belongs to only this instance. So if you modify, so this part cannot be shared by any other objects. So it's not possible to have another reference that points to this. This is not allowed in my book. Okay? So we call these objects here expanded types, which means they're actually an integral part of the object here. Okay? They cannot be shared. So that's why I draw it like that. As opposed to, that's a B1 here, and then you have the field author, and this might refer to some author objects here, and replace this part. Okay, author here, and you can see that they might refer to the same author objects, or they might refer to the same, either way, because it's reference type. So you might have aliasing. But in this case here, because you say it's actually part of the book, so it's expanded type. So it should be just one part of that, so it cannot be shared. Okay? So that's what we're trying to model. It really Okay,
But
that's
why,
expanded type.
but why the iPhone doesn't allow for second one? For the BI with the alias.
Oh, you need to allow for aliasing for this?
Yeah.
Because the reason you have this to be an integral part of that is that you want to have that kind of object. Let's take one example.
So it means if I make a book and I use alias, is this okay?
It is okay to use aliasing. So now, but this is actually something called expanded type. So let me give you one example where this is the correct way to model it. Let's say you're trying to create a PC object, okay, like an individual PC in the prison lab. So each monitor or each keyboard only belongs to that particular PC. They are not really shared, right? So what I'm saying is, when you go from the diagram to PC1, that refers to one PC. Let me just pick maybe a keyboard, for example. Let's say in a keyboard, okay? So now, if you model that using a normal reference aliasing, so that means you might have, in ISO is, either when you actually declare the writer here, you can say that's expanded. That means that's an integral part of the book object here. Okay? Either you say that here, or I think the more common way to do it is simply say writer is actually an expanded class. That is to say, so this expanded class writer will actually be an integral part of something else. For example, the book over here. So the pink object here is actually a writer object. So this is a writer one, this is another writer. But now they actually belong to different book objects. Okay? So that's the expanded type. And now let's have a look at in the case of point. So now, so the difference is, let me erase this example here and show you. So now, from the supplier side, if we have class point, okay? So now let's say we have, x and y, for example. And now we have the other kind, expanded class. Point. Okay, so now we have x and y. Okay, so now this is the supplier side. So now let's see how we use it. Okay, so here you might say you have some local variable here. So you have P1 and P2 of type point. Right? So now in your body of code, you might use, create P1, create P2. Create P1 and create P2. Okay, and you can also do P1 is assigned to be P2. And what this does is the first case I mentioned, right? Although I have to erase that. So if this is a P1 object here, used to refer to that, the usage will be a little bit different. Okay? So now you still have your local variable here. Okay, you can say P1 and we have P2. Okay? So now, so by default, P1 and P2 in this case, they will be void before you initialize them to be using the create instruction. But in the case of the expanded class, you do not have to explicitly initialize them because they're supposed to be one integral part of something else. So by default, IFO will actually initialize them for you. So by default, they will be non-void. Okay, that's a crucial difference. So here, you can say non-void by default. So here, it will be void by default. Okay, there's a crucial difference here.
What?
So now, So you don't really have to say create P1, create P2.
So this means in the first one, the P1 and the P2 is no pointer, but in the second one, the P1 and the P2 will be pointed to an object.
It will point to some object by default. But in the first case, before you create the P1 and P2, yes, it will be void. Okay, so now you don't really have to explicitly create them, but now when you say P1 is assigned to be P2, the diagram will look different. Okay? Let me erase this. So by default, P1 will point to some object here. P2 will also point to some object here. Let's say it's a point. Let's say it's x and y coordinates. So now let me just now we can say local. So P1, P2 of my point. Because this point is actually the point here, so it's expanded. Okay? So it will be non-void by default. So you can say do, and then we say P1 is assigned to be P2. Okay? If P1 and P2, they are actually of reference types, it will simply be just reattaching the object to something else. But in the case of expanded types, you will simply be copying the contents from one to the other, but the references remain the same. Okay? What this will do is, let's say P1, let's say, used to be, let's say, 2 and 3 for x and y, and P2 used to be, let's say, 4 and 5. What this will do, you actually copy the content from P2 onto P1 without reattaching P1 and P2. So what this would do is simply just move that and send it to 4 and 5.
Is this like a deep copying and
Yes, it's like deep copy, yes. Okay, good. But they should not be shared. Okay? Okay, so reference expanded, so please read over the slides to make sure you understand the difference between them. And okay, so you have to know the difference between, so here you can see that if you have the assignment operator, in the case of reference type, you'll be the first situation here. If you have expanded type, you actually simply just copy the contents. Okay? So now if you, in the case of reference type, if you use equality, you are really checking to see if they refer to the same objects. You're pointing to the same object. In the case of the expanded types, you are simply just doing a tilde, like a comparing the contents. So expanded type is all about the contents. But the reference type is all about where you're pointing to. Yes?
Is that field by field copy that you had here?
Field by field, recursively. It's like deep copy. Yes. Good. Okay, so that's that's expanded here. If you represent your author by using expanded type, that's the case where you use the reference type for the author. Okay, bond diagram. Of course, this would not be acceptable for your submission, but you can certainly generate this from the iPhone Studio. I think in my maybe the last or the second last video, I actually talk about how you can generate in the information hiding video. I talk about how to generate this from iPhone Studio. So please make sure you know how to do that. You can generate such diagram from iPhone Studio, and then you have to convert this, redraw this in Visio, because usually you would have contracts for each of the classes. For your submission, you're expected to actually have some expanded view, like the handout I gave to you. I'm going to talk about that very soon. You should really have the expanded view for your class and show the contracts. But this would not be acceptable. You'll be okay just for your own reference. Okay, one thing to draw your attention to, you can see the arrow here is slightly different. So whenever you're referring to something that is expanded, so you actually have some bar over there. So that's the difference you have to notice. Okay, that's for expanded objects, which means keyboard is an integral part of the workstation. It cannot be shared among workstations. On the other hand, the workstation is actually belongs to one single network, but that network might be shared by many workstations. That's why you can see the horizontal bar here, but not here. Okay. Okay, just some notation here. So if you actually know UML already, so the terminology is, whenever you have reference types, it's called association. If you have expanded type, it's actually called aggregation. So which means we're aggregating the integral types for the objects. Okay, done with this part. Any questions?